I took Church Street.
That wasn't
And then
bad.
I took Halls Falls
No, no.
Road.
No, I wasn't work that day,
And
but then left.
then I hit Chapel Pond again, but
Once I
once I got in, once I got in
Well, I
North, it
got
was
home
better, but still you hit
through the road.
And Jay, congratulations on a great event.
Oh,
I was second. Yeah.
You pulled it off, just take the credit.
Yeah, just take it.
I've seen so many photos. It looked amazing.
yeah,
Oh,
I think it was just a partial one, like.
They went skydiving,
like, the dark one.
really?
but they had to go out over Lake Erie and climb to 13,500 feet to even see it. She said it was all clouds,
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so.
And at
Vocal
least-
looking up with their glasses on, she didn't need
Somebody was saying,
them.
they talked to somebody, was it Buzzy? Oh, no, it was Jason Lawrence said that these kids, like college kids showed up, he lives like out in Saranac and he's on this dirt road and this car pulled up and they're like, sorry, we thought this is kind of just like an open field. Is it okay if we watch the eclipse here? And he's like, oh, yeah, sure. So, and the story is they were in Buffalo in the morning and it was cloudy, so they just.
They just
going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You probably want to.
You know, thank you, Val.
The agenda, well, just in case.
Thank you. I love the new logo.
Yeah, there was the one
Right.
guy,
Yeah.
on NPR, like a week and a half ago, he said, you know, if you're ready to hit the fire drive, it's wet and like, I know where you are, and he's one of those that he's seen a billion.
As you know, we almost 30 cars at our parking area, but I stopped and talked to every one of them. It was just a neat experience seeing where they were all from.
Uh-huh.
there
Yeah,
was another 10 or 12, because I was out front,
I used to do that.
there was
Yeah.
another 10 or 12 of us out there.
yeah,
So, yeah, and like I said, I went to the, I didn't see it, but I went over to John Brown Road, John Brown Farm,
yeah.
and they were packed.
Both sides of the road.
They were parked almost to McCahill's house.
Are you kidding?
So I pulled in and I said to the trooper, he says, we're almost full here. I said, I know. And I said, it's fine too. I said, send people over to lacrosse fields,
Yeah,
but I don't think he understood where they were.
Well, there's
I
a
explained to
rumor
him.
going around about really bad meat at lacrosse fields.
yeah. That would come from Shannon.
Yeah. No, it was really bad.
Yeah,
It was badass.
She
So-
came, he's offering me, he says, come on in, and Shannon's going, no.
Horseshoe grounds is full.
Oh, yeah.
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 And it makes sense right along the main
What
drive.
about ski jumps?
I don't
Yeah, they
know.
were-
Could you see across there?
I went in there, I checked it out. They were
in there.
ants.
Yeah,
Because, you know,
that's
it's
what I
not the
saw,
best
like
place to-
top, at
Yeah.
the top, it was like a quarter full.
Yeah, it got to a half.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I ran my dogs at Redwood at lunch and saw Willis, and he said that it was busy out there.
Yeah.
And I thought that would
because
be.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, it's 5:30. Let's get this under
Oh, that's
motion. Let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Val, I didn't even say hello, Matt, welcome back.
Oh, I didn't see him in that.
Howdy. Hey.
Teleported.
Well, it's another good evening to listen to Lee. Each of you can come up and take a chair. Make it easy.
The two of them are presenting, so I'll stay back here and just here for support or
Yeah.
answer any questions.
But you're welcome to join us, MJ.
Yeah, that's not the table.
Big people. And listen, I already skipped, I know I gotta accept the minutes. You guys usually keep me in mind.
Two. I'm at 66 points. I'm just trying to catch up here. After going 80 miles an hour for the past 2 hours.
I know we're hitting our super busy season at work, and I took a little time off yesterday afternoon for the so.
But also.
Have to be 10 cents a page.
Another way to spend money. Right on.
All set, who's on deck?
Val's gonna start.
Oh,
Are we doing the leash?
Yeah,
Val's gonna start.
otherwise I wouldn't invite you.
yeah. I said- Okay, I'm gonna be presenting three of the recommendations. The first is Adirondack Foundation. And that is for the Helping Hands Community Hub, the official project name, right? And that's for the food pantry and thrift store that is gonna be going in hopefully. And we were asked, the total project cost is over $750. We were asked for $160 for the building. And our recommendation is $100,000. I think everybody's pretty familiar with the project, right? I don't need to.
For sure, MJ and I both sit on committees.
Yeah.
Kind
of a no-brainer.
Yep,
And the only question I think we'd have was, we talked about how it ties into the tourism and all the workforce uses both, so that supports our.
yeah,
tourism.
and it is kind of important. And I remind the committee quite often that because J1s are involved, that's the link so that
Right.
we have the county blessing.
Yeah, and I was, I went in, when we discussed it, I said I had gone into the food pantry at St. Agnes to drop something off on a Friday morning, and I was really surprised to see who was there and that there were a lot of J1s. That's a lot of our our staff.
But I certainly have also no problem reinforcing the fact that we are helping families that are our workforce.
Right,
So
Right.
they are directly related, well,
Yeah.
if not more so.
right,
And many of those families.
There's many,
Hospitality.
as we talked, many direct and indirect.
Right.
So no problem there.
sure.
Exactly, so it's just a great community project. I know MJ will agree. It brings so many aspects of the community together for a common project, and we don't get a lot of those, so.
Yeah, and I love that they'll be able to do furniture too. When I used to do commercial stuff in Florida, there was one place that would do furniture and it was a great resource to pick stuff, like everybody would go down for the windows. And they would need to furnish their housing and they could find stuff and then they would return it at the end of the year. That adding, being able to add furniture, I think it's a really big bonus to that, so.
Very good.
And then the next one is the Lake Placid Volunteer Ambulance. They are looking to get an airlift, it's called a hoverjack. Their ask was for, their total cost was a little over $5,700. They're asking for $4,706. And this is a jack that will help lift patients onto the stretchers and into the ambulance, and eliminating the need for assistance. It was a little scary to read that the obesity rate is 30 to 35 or 35 to 40%, I think, in the 30 to 40% range, and they often need to offer assistance to get people in the ambulance, onto the stretcher and in the ambulance, and for $5,000 and plus there were a lot of injuries, I think, related to lifting people in, and this, for a pretty minimal amount of money, helps alleviate that problem. So we recommended the full amount of $4,706 for that one.
Very good.
And a lot of the members are now aging, so.
Right, yeah. And of course, you wanna look at the deeper. Of course, you wanna look at the deeper solution, which is to reduce the obesity percentage, but yeah. So it's part of the hovering back, so we'll stick with that.
Take
That'd
one
be my
aspect
own
at a time.
Right, right.
They said it's good.
And then, did you all have any questions about that one?
No, well, I'll have remarks, but I'll let you go through everything and then we'll discuss. Good.
And then the third one that I'm presenting is the Paul Smith Watershed Institute. We have granted them some money already. They're trying to expand their lab and asked for $50,000 for microscopes. And our recommendation is half of that at $25,000. We did have some additional questions for Brendan about this. One of the biggest questions being, what does this actually accomplish? We're able to test, but what happens next? Is there any fix for it? And the two-piece answer to this was right now they have to send all the samples out to get tested, which takes time, and this is a much quicker response time. So if there is anything, if there's a toxic bloom in the area, they're able to identify it faster and keep people out of the water, keep pets out of the water. Sorry, and I kind of skipped over that in the beginning, but this is to deal with the harmful algae blooms that we're starting to see in Mirror Lake, Lake Placid, pretty much here. I know the last couple of years I've seen them in both. So so that's what this project is about, is analyzing the algal blooms, checking them for toxicity, much faster response time because they have lab in the area. And then the other thing, which was one of my questions when we had talked with Brendan, was what happens next? So you've identified them, is there any way to fix this? And he said, once they, you know, as they are able to gather more data, there should be some possibility of mitigation if they see that there's toxic blooms. So we thought that was worthwhile to support our water. Our waters are such a vital piece to this community that's directly tied to tourism and our own, you know, residential enjoyment too. So
I
the
should,
health of our water, I think we thought was important. We wanted to continue to support their efforts.
I should ask a question on that right now, while I'm looking at it. Certainly, a new lab will service everyone in the
Yeah.
area, which is great. But how feasible is this project? Unless there's a typo, that's $1 million, the total project cost.
Right,
That
yeah,
was a typo.
right, and they, it's not though, is it? Or is it, was it?
No, I mean, that's correct.
That's the
It's,
total, and they
I'm
actually
looking-
have they actually have the lab already established and they're stocking it and they're raising money. They have, they do have other funding sources, yeah.
And that was over time too.
Right,
So
yeah, and
then
that's
they're- so
over
they're
5
gonna
years.
hire research scientists to be employees then for this.
I think they already have them on staff, I think.
Okay,
Yeah, so the lab is already functioning and they're trying to get more and more equipment to be able to do this
Be more
analysis.
so then like
Be more
Harbor
efficient.
Civic Association is involved and
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think, I thought you had all that, but
I probably did
Yeah.
in the back explanation.
yeah, and I know it's
We-
not,
we
here's
questioned it
additional
too,
funding,
but Over time.
Lake Placid Education Foundation has committed 92,000. There's some in-kind. Oh, sorry, this is
Is
the
that
wrong one,
Lake-
sorry, that's wrong,
What's that?
sorry.
Lake
No.
Placid Institute, because they just helped out the food.
No, sorry, that was wrong, I had the wrong grant open,
Okay.
let me
Yeah,
let me
so
get to the right one,
they're-
sorry.
Their funding is, you know, to get to that $1 million would be to, you know, have the project absolutely complete, but they're still functioning without it complete. They're just
Right.
become more efficient, you know, more high tech, more.
Yeah, and they do, and that's
Responsive.
I think it's a 5-year plan to do all of that, and that is the total project cost,
Okay,
sorry, now. I've
I
got
think
the-
there's state funding and
Yeah.
environmental
Yeah.
and
yep,
And
foundation funding too.
I mean, just,
Okay.
and I've got it here, I just, additional funding. Cloud Splitter is doing 200,000.
okay, so.
10K from Lake Champlain Basin Project. Private giving campaign, 42K. And they've raised another 28K in 2024 already, so they've got
So
a
they're
lot of
very
other
close there,
sources, yeah,
okay.
they've got a lot of other sources of funding for this.
Very good.
And they just asked for the microscopes, the 50 was for the microscopes, and like I said, we were recommending half. Just keeping an eye on what we had what we had for budget, and
Good.
so.
I think Matt's not,
Okay.
is that it? No,
Is that it?
3 or 3, right?
Those are my 3, did I?
Thank you.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so we're even, I have 3 too. I'll first talk about Northern Lights. You may know they're occupying the space at the elementary school on Trudeau Street. This is a good thing because it's gonna expand the number of daycare slots that are available to families in the region. They service about 25% of their customers are North Elba families. So they're looking to with its new space at 45 spots, they want to keep progressing in terms of what they can offer, but a fundamental issue now is the infrastructure of the building. It's an old school, it's got an antiquated heating system. They're doing a smart thing. It's an expensive project, but they're switching to a ground pump, moving away from kerosene, so that'll chop out costs for them over the long term. For their specific request for this project, it's a $500,000 cost. They have other sources. They're doing fundraising for this particular heat pump acquisition and the engineering behind it. They're looking for $19,999. Could have been 20 as far as I was concerned, but we are. We recommend the whole grant, the full amount. Just by virtue of the fact this is multiple communities are dependent on it, including North Elba, for childcare support and frankly, getting out into the workforce.
Matt, to put a heat pump in, would they drill a well?
That's my assumption. It has to
Cause
be.
I mean, they can't do it off village water.
Let's see.
Yeah, I don't remember that being,
Cause a
didn't
heat-
know that,
yeah,
but I don't remember
heat
being
pump,
that
you-
there.
You know, there's like
Yeah.
a Delta T, you can
Right.
take the coolness off it for your air conditioning in the summer.
Right.
But you can displace the cold through a heat pump for heat.
So you're saying village water doesn't,
I
It's still-
don't think you can make it, maybe they can make a heat pump work off of village water. Usually you need a wicked
colder
yeah,
It does.
source?
Oops, no, I can just,
but no, I can look it up
okay,
and I will.
I've got the
Okay.
application right
Yeah.
here, so I was just looking.
I don't think,
That's okay.
I don't think there was anything mentioned about that,
No,
not that I recall.
but they're within a water district there, but it,
Right,
and it turns right there across the street, goes to Turtle Pond, so,
right.
okay, I will look at that.
But I felt like there was something that it like when we ask about maintenance, there was something about the people that put it together that would.
Okay. Any other questions? Next project we're looking at is the grant proposal from the Lake Placid Volunteer Fire Department. We felt this was an essential item. We're recommending a contingency year. We're recommending half of the projected cost. Full cost is $17,139. They want to buy battery rescue cutters, and we see this in terms of rescuing residents and rescuing folks in the backcountry or at sort of off-road sites. This is going to be essential. So this is an effective piece of equipment, but we're recommending that they secure a match. So we're recommending half of the project, $8,500. Okay,
So they get a letter, and once they raise their half, then we come check for the other
Did you say once they've raised their house?
half. Well, for
Okay.
however they're gonna get it.
They don't need to raise their half.
Well, wherever they're gonna get their half from.
They have a healthy.
Yeah.
Fund balance.
Yeah.
So you're not giving the amount of it either. But first responders, we all support.
Oh, yeah. And the
That's
fact,
for sure.
that- yeah, and the fact that, like Matt said, we're appealed to us with this battery operated.
Right,
So, you don't have to rely upon hoses and everything else, you just pick it up and carry it in.
yeah. Very good.
the last project we're recommending is the John Brown Lives project. They for educational purposes, and for tourism purposes, arguably, they're going to have access to a Harriet Tubman statue that will be on display at that site. That will drive a bunch of lessons about the history behind Harriet Tubman, her essential role in the liberation of slaves and her connection to the North Country and the Underground Railroad up here. So this is a July through September display. Essential for tourism, we think it'll drive people over there, but part of our commitment letter has a contingency that because it lists in their application that they're working toward acquiring it through September. We're mandating that they have that September block so that school kids can go see the display.
Good.
Okay, from a diversity standpoint, from a history standpoint, we think it's terrific. But we're hoping we can have a educational component for local kids too. Okay, so we're recommending half, 5,800, half of their full project amount. And that will
And that-
require a match.
That total project cost is $37,000 to hold that statue?
Yeah, I think for the rental, to secure it, to
Yeah.
transport it.
Do you know where it comes from? Where is it?
I'm forgetting now.
It's not down in Albany, is it?
I don't think so. I think it's farther south.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Huh,
It seemed like it was a ways away.
okay.
so this is a marketing thing.
Oh,
as
and
well as a
listen,
history.
I know they have many great programs up there, so, Yeah.
They did come through, the elementary school with Ruth and the Green Book author. And that was a big hit at the elementary school.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he said. Alexander,
Just a generalized question, we see it quite a bit that says, there's been this funding similar program in the past. We see that quite a bit. And it sparked me with the John Brown. I think that's a great give, but how do you differentiate? You know, how and maybe it's case by case, but if John Brown comes back next year with signage, I think we did signage once before.
Yeah.
And this, and how do you?
I'm gonna try to answer that. We're all aware that they have a formula of sorts. We're seeing that as a successful formula. They're bringing in items that are additive and educational, that are a draw to that site, brings tourists to them, and it also provides the acquisition of the summer, let's call it, be it the statue or the other historical documents that they pull together. It is also sort of magnet that attracts educators and community members to build displays around it. So we just feel like, sure, it's formulaic, but it works. It's been productive on their part.
and I think
Yeah.
probably to even help clarify for you, Matt and Bell and MJ. I'm sure where Rick's coming from, like myself, LEAF isn't the only expression or request through us for monies
Hmm.
for John Brown.
So you
We have the Arts Council of New York that's after us with different artists each
Hmm.
year. So John Brown is a consistent requester for funds.
Mhm.
But like you say, they've had many successful programs.
We've also skipped them a couple times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was more educational, I didn't have a
Yeah.
motive behind it.
No, no, but it comes in front of us more than
Fans of
it
our
comes in
shirt.
front
Yeah.
of you guys.
I'll put it this way too. She's a great grant writer and she's really resourceful. She knows where to find
Right,
resources and
Yeah.
you can't.
she's making it work,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
And you can see that program has enhanced over the years. I mean, there was a time that there was not a lot going on out there at John's house. You know?
They are maximizing what would be the sort of the cultural trends now. to
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
check some sort of education.
For many years, it was, here it is, come on up.
Pretty sleepy.
That's all it
Yeah.
was.
I enjoyed that. I'm not gonna lie, walking my dog, it was
I
very
know.
calm.
I know, I was gonna say, there's a couple different places I go, John Brown is one, Heaven Hell, Craigwood in the winter, and John Brown I go to a lot and there's always there's always activity up there now,
Yeah.
which, and it didn't used to be like that.
No.
Well, and it's very helpful to have a place to send people
Yeah.
from the visitor center.
Yeah.
They're looking for.
Yeah.
Put a lot of attention, not only, say,
It's like a private hideaway.
the state has put money into it too, and John,
Yeah.
has transformed it.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job there.
That's the flowers.
So just quick, I'd like to touch base on two of Val's. One is the volunteer ambulance service, and I don't expect that you have to jump in, Rick, but it'll be up to you, but. My appeal would go like this. With first responders and. The constant need for them to be sustainable. It wouldn't bother me if that extra $1,000 was put on this to take care of that patient air lift system. And I'm gonna give you this analogy. Since the ER closed in Lake Placid, the town has become much more involved with the ambulance service on a financial basis. And you'll have to correct me if I get off base or even wrong, but as the travel time for any event to Saranac Lake happens now, that one crew is tied up considerably longer. It can be an hour, hour and a half more. Whereas a second crew has to come on board. We are constantly looking for new ways for the ambulance service to acquire new revenues. One of them in the future, quite often, quite possibly, could be more transports, but we have to prove that there are two consistent crews just to take care of calls right now before we get into a new venture. So helping the ambulance is money well spent because they are still independent and not part of the countywide system that cost neighboring towns hundreds of thousands of dollars. So keeping them sustainable is.
So
Right.
Go ahead.
we gave them their full request.
That's
Yeah.
that's my point.
But he's saying
No.
that their full request was for 4706,
Yeah,
the
total
actual.
budget.
I understand,
But,
But we did the,
But
what,
it's
just-
odd to give more than.
More than-
See, that's what my comment is going to be, where
Okay.
MJ's going, okay.
Yeah.
That, obviously, they asked for, the project costs this much. They're requesting this much, and they're obviously from another source, they're gonna come up with the other 1,000.
Okay,
yeah.
So let
We
any
had,
organization
yeah.
do
we
that,
had $1,000 donor that
Right, see,
specified.
that's it.
for
There you
equipment,
go.
so,
okay, so you're covered.
yeah, I mean, I agree with where you're going,
Me
Right,
too.
but
But
it's
the
just
point
weird to
is,
give them more than they
that's what
asked
they
for.
asked for.
Yeah,
Why, I'm not
And
gonna
we're
say.
giving them 100% of their.
if they're satisfied, I'm satisfied.
Can we make it contingent in case that the donor falls through?
it's
It's already done.
money that
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my point, Eric, is, you know, I mean, we cut enough of them
Yeah.
because we have to.
Right,
You know, they're asking for it. That's all they need. In my mind, that's all they need.
Okay,
Okay, we'll give you all you need.
yeah, good,
Next, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
good.
That's-
I understand, without knowing that the other
Yeah.
was covered. Cause you know they've worked very hard to become sustainable in a very
Right.
difficult sort of situation. that they've had.
Sure.
Right, no.
So I'm gonna move into this, kind of the same kind of speech with the 100,000 you're recommending for the food pantry. And naturally, I'm gonna agree with it. The call was for 160. I'd like to get some reaction. Should this board want more money for the food pantry? Or, the one thing I always want to guard against is offending Leaf Committee at all. I'm totally impressed with how you research things and you come to your decisions. This food pantry thing is, I don't know if any of you have been privy to the actual fundraising so far. It's at 560 right now. Which is tremendous. And that's with 40 more prospective donors to approach. So it's within our grasp. Should it not be, or should be their last minute things, I anticipate asking the board for additional monies, which, as you know, we have the right to go to this occupancy tax money and do it. But I don't wanna do it without you guys knowing that's, at least on my mind, that I could actually want more than $1,000 to go to that venture.
My comment on that one is, and when we had our meeting, I suggested that, okay? Then,
Yeah,
but knowing where the donations are now, and again, with many donors to go back to, not back to go approach initially. I think at this point, we should just give them the 100K.
I agree.
And then go, and if down the road, for whatever reason, if we need to go back, we can go back.
If they submit another
Right.
grant for the September round, because they feel
Yeah.
like they can't get to it, then
Right.
that would be.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing you say is you would want the committee to be open to potentially.
Right,
Looking at a grant for the September round.
yeah,
But more importantly, I think he's saying that. He doesn't want to recommend and this board approve 50,000 additional dollars and the leave committee's going, what the heck?
Yeah.
No, no.
Right,
And
well-
I appreciate that, and that's why, like I said, when we had our meeting. I was all for that, and I didn't push it, which was okay at this point, and now I'm saying, because of where the fundraising is being so well accepted. I don't think we need that, and if for
Right.
some reason we do, then we revisit it, or as MJ said. They can ask for put another application in,
Oh,
but I think for now, leave it where it is.
I have a question, with you mentioned about 500, sort of about $200,000 away from pickle, so to speak.
well,
Including
the actual cost is really 800,000.
Would not doing that delay it from happening?
Well, that's the
No.
thing, no, that's the thing,
Okay.
and I think if it did, for some reason, then we could revisit it. But right now, I think from my understanding, and you guys know more than I do by far, is the pace, the rate now that funds are coming in. It's a good thing.
Is this the 560 doesn't include the 100,000 from leave,
No,
so now we're up to 660.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to pull the actual assessment up to know. No, the 560 is actual.
Yeah, see, so that's,
Yeah.
we're that much more close, so I just say leave it where it is.
And we were trying to be a little conservative with things just because we do have so many asks and we've
For
done
sure.
a pretty limited,
100,000 is a pretty
yeah.
big chunk.
Yeah,
Well, and we can, we can always do.
And we pretty much, well, we were unanimous, all of us obviously unanimous for the fact that this is. This round, this is the big one, not just financially, but the
Right.
cost.
yeah. Presentations were great. They're all important, that's for sure. Is there anything further from you guys?
I just wanted to go back to the Northern Lights. I did look at the application and it says they contacted everybody and are working with everybody, including code enforcement at the town of Harrietstown. So I would think you would know, they would know what's doable and not doable. but-
Yeah, so they're
That-
just outside the village.
Yeah,
Um,
so
now wait,
and it says the
no.
contractors.
Yeah, but they're out by your old
Yeah.
place,
Trudeau.
Trudeau Road, the school.
Are you thinking of Church Street? The one on
Where they
Church Street
were.
By the Methodist church?
They used to be on, they used to be on Church Street.
Right.
They moved out to the
Yeah.
elementary school out by Doty's Meat Market.
If you know, you know where that is.
Yeah.
What, whether you know where that
You
is.
remember back that far?
I'll tell you what I was mixing it up with is the school up where Will Rogers is.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
they're on the other side over by Pisgah,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
it does say that they've they've worked with the contractors and the code enforcement officers, and so I think that question has
Yeah.
probably been addressed.
That's good. Okay,
So, one last question, so with that and having two children, understanding what childcare is like. We're probably gonna, do you think we're potentially gonna see more requests from similar organizations? Or some sort of supplemental revenue in order to kind of,
I hope so.
then the Leaf and the board are willing to entertain.
They'd have to be organizations that serve North Elba kids.
Okay,
Yeah.
So that's a limited set. We've already heard from St. Agnes and we've
Yeah.
helped them out with the
Did you say
same kind of.
25%, I'm sorry,
20% of.
20%.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's
But you
good.
know, that's also families that live in Sand Lake
Sure.
is also our workforce. in
Yes.
Brentwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We touched on that big time, it's back to workforce.
Yeah.
There are just a
Guys-
couple of no-brainers and the childcare, the first
Oh,
responder, and those
for
are things
sure.
that are just pillars of our community, and that was one of the main goals of this program.
No. Are you guys prepared to accept this? Cause I can take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we 100% accept the recommendations of the Leaf Committee to fund the six projects.
Second,
I'll second.
any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Carry.
Now I want to just mention about what we talked about earlier, what we talked about in the meeting and Jen brought up, is if we could coordinate this into a presentation day,
Oh, right,
you know what I mean? Have
yes,
something here and
yes,
instead of just mailing the checks, have
Yeah, so the
representative from all the,
please.
Yeah.
have them come in here and, you know, photo ops a little bit and then.
And maybe they can firsthand speak about their missions.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Be very marketing.
yes,
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
if we could, you know, if you wanna have Kristen work on that, along with maybe Adrian to come up with something for a day or something like that.
I have,
Yeah.
I've got one.
Just keep.
because I'm always looking, whenever there's an article about something that LEAP has funded, I always look to see if they mentioned it, and then I'll send it, I'm like, if they didn't, I'm like, oh, we should make sure they remember to mention it, just. Cause anything you can do, I think anything we can do to make it more public or make it more visible is a good thing,
for sure.
and that's.
While you guys are at the table, I have one more item, not related to Leaf, but to Roost. You'll get the check from occupancy tax, which equates to $528,226.78. Which is our last 7 months of 2023 allocation, as everybody remembers. Our agreement is to turn all the money over, and then we also have part of that agreement, that's why I'm bringing this up. That we need to get together to have like we said monthly, but monthly is too quick, but to have an audit, if you will, on where we're at. Now that we passed these Leaf things, whether it's you and I or Emily or any of, or Dick, sit down and,
Understand
Let us
where
know
the
where we're
balance for the town,
cause as you know, we have things committed
yes.
in this coming year. But tell me it isn't amazing what we've accomplished so far.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah,
So yes, we can, two things, one, arrange for the check presentation, we can coordinate that maybe. So that it's at a next board meeting or something, and maybe it's not the real check, but fake check or something, you know,
Yeah.
like those big. And then secondly, is we can, you know, I've told Karen Meister that we would give her pause till she got to April 16th. There's like this tax thing going on.
yeah,
And then after that, if that works, we can coordinate a time to sit down, just go over, I'll have her print out the
Yeah.
ballots and,
it's not like there's a hurry, it's just, we'll get in the system.
yeah, absolutely.
Is that something you need, your email out to the board, is it kind of like a sort of an update?
Oh, yeah,
Just what the balance is
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the town's
Yeah.
portion, and I can tell you know, we know what the balance is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal. As always, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
You're not staying in, Jay? You know, we're no.
I'm gonna go watch.
Yeah, thank you.
So I was outside of Saratoga.
Someone's sleeping thing a little.
All right, have a
That
nice
was-
night. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
No. I think you would know this more than I would, I say just from anecdotally. The last 2 years, the focus of the LEAP grants have substantially shifted from what would be perceived as benefiting only tourists
Right,
to directed at the community as a whole, to enhance the community
Yeah,
in order to, and for someone like me, who, you know, is like, it's like a big, like, real weight is lifted off, like.
Yeah.
Like,
well, cause
finally, yeah,
everybody's recognized.
What's that?
Everybody's recognized now.
Well, I think it goes beyond that. I don't wanna take up too much of the time, but it's the focus, when you go into the LEAF grants. It's community minded as opposed to just trying to cherry pick ones that like, it just so happens it benefits, there's overlap. Cause I've seen that where it's predominantly just tourists, and it may help the community as a whole. There's a real target and focus on the community, and through that, an enhancement of tourism.
I think. You're absolutely right, and one of the things that's happened is, obviously, as Matt indicated, some people. Some organizations are coming at us every time, boom, 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 and that's sometimes good, sometimes it's bad, okay? But it seems in the last couple rounds, a lot of the heavier weighted community, like you said, there's been more of those.
Okay.
Okay, whereas we've given some organizations that were weighted more toward tourism,
Mhm.
because those were the early ones.
Mhm.
So now we're getting more,
I almost feel like it's a snowball effect that more have been approved, so now they're receiving more applications, which now there are more opportunities to do that.
yeah,
And I think it's under you and this, the board, specifically you and Dick and the board, just, we've gone that far, and I'm just,
and I
I
think,
think, and it ties into having people here, so more people know that it's happening. Just look around,
Right.
who's gonna watch this, who, no one's gonna report about it, like,
Sydney's on.
Sydney's
oh, sorry, Sydney.
Hey, I'm gonna report about it.
I think if you do report, like, and if you wanna go back and have a conversation with Dick, just kind of understand that the shift. From my perspective, and it probably needs to have some sort of, analysis for verification, but the focus has been community oriented. And which benefits, ultimately second tier sort of the tourists.
Secondary, tertiary.
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, it seems that whether on purpose or not. And also the fact is, obviously, because of the math, we have less funds now to do, to distribute. And it seems like the better choices are the ones that are more community minded. Like the one, for the big one, for the food pantry. As MJ said, that's a no brainer.
Yeah.
So we gave them a good chunk of change, and that took a bigger bite than normal out of what percentage or we normally would have.
Mhm.
That's 20% or something like that, whatever it is. Whereas in the past, if we gave somebody $100,000, it was 10%.
Mhm.
So I think that's shifted to say, well, these ones that are more tourist minded, we just can't do it.
Mhm.
Whereas we want to weight it toward the community,
Yeah.
but still have tourism aspect.
No, of course.
Because we gotta cover ourselves on that.
Well,
We honestly do.
Well, not, I would say covered, it's just, they're so intertwined.
Oh, yeah,
but it's like-
Infrastructure to support the tourism.
Yeah. I don't know, I just felt,
No,
I
you're.
felt compelled to share that, because it does make me smile, like, not to sound
Well,
cheesy,
we're
but I'm a
happy it's
teacher.
making us smile.
Yeah, not to be cheesy, but as a teacher and as a parent
my
of
day.
kids,
Mhm.
like, that makes me feel really good, and
Yeah.
it's just, I really appreciate that, and I feel like it should be mentioned.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Cool.
So I'm gonna move back and pick up what I forgot. We need to approve the minutes from the board meeting of March 12th.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, really? Yeah.
Your version. Yeah,
So moved.
second? Jason, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Carry. All right, let's move on to resolutions. As you all remember, we were awarded two $50,000 grants toward the engineering feasibility on our two major sewer projects, Routemont and Peninsula. And
There's four, but the first
yeah,
two are identical, just different project numbers.
that's right.
Second two are identical, just different project.
Do you wanna speak on that at all?
Thank you
Because
for being here.
you, actually, Adrian is one that has worked with Swazo Engineering to get all this language down. I mean, there seems to be more paperwork than your average grant you go through, but these are resolutions of endorsement for the $250,000 grants. And after that, we're gonna need, resolutions that authorize an appropriation of a local match. In other words, we get $100,000, 250s. But our responsibility is to come up with, 20% of that.
Okay.
So which is $10,000 per 50. And we'll figure out where it's coming from.
Well, it will be reduced by keeping track of my time, Kathy's time. So,
In-kind services can apply.
Okay, good.
so
So with that being said, I'd like a motion to accept both resolutions. On just the resolution of endorsement of each $50,000 grant. So Rick,
Resolution 89.
yep. Seconded by Jason. Anything further? All in favor? Aye.
that was for
Here.
8, 9, 10, and 11,
Well,
Well, 10 and 11 are for
or 8 and 9, I'm sorry.
yep. And just to verify, so I've covered it in the language, I'd like a motion to accept the fact that authorization for let's see, how did the wording go? Authorization and appropriation of local match, which is at $20,000. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Dick?
Yep.
Second?
I
Jason?
know he doesn't make the motion when it comes to spending money.
Further discussion?
Selective hearing now.
All in favor?
Aye.
No one's opposed, carried. Thank you.
And just on note, the
Just giving you-
RFQ for those went out today,
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
so I submitted that to a bunch of different.
Yep.
And I guess here's a question you may have to ask. Because it falls under professional services, after those RFQs, even though there could be a variance, let's say of $5,000, we can choose a professional based on what we feel is the best value. You can ask tomorrow.
I'll ask.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be the lowest amount anyway.
I believe with professional services, we retain that
Yes.
ability.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The next item is a resolution. To accept the idea of monies from the general fund to the town hall capital project. And as a reminder, really to Sydney and the public, last year, well, we tackled the failing brickwork on the south side of the town hall. And we utilized fund balance for that, and that was to the tune of $300,000. Likewise, during the building inspection over last summer, we identified all of the west side where all of the major windows are. We identified a number of places where water was getting into that vacant space, which is 15 inches deep between the window framings and the inside walls. Before we can move ahead with new windows, we need to have that work done, and we've accepted a bid of $290,000. And Kathy has given us this resolution authorizing appropriation of funds from unassigned general fund balance to the town hall capital project. Mason repairs to the first floor window heads. I'd just like to read a couple of these items, just so the public is aware where we're at. The unassigned fund balance of the general fund at December 31, 23 is $1,389,348.58. And whereas the town adopted a fund balance policy July 5th of 23, which states the town will retain a reasonable amount of unassigned fund balance, limited to not more than 25% of total adopted budgeted expenditures of the fund. Whereas the 2024 adopted budgeted expenditures were $3,974,595. And the calculated fund balance in excess of 25% is $395,699.83. And whereas the town board of the town of North Elba believes it to be in the best interest of the constituents of the town, be it resolved, the town board approves the appropriation of $290,862 unassigned fund balance from the general fund, Fund A000, to be transferred to the Town Hall Capital Project Fund, H001. With that being said, I'd like a motion to accept this resolution, and then we'll have a vote per person.
I'll spend the money.
Oh, there we go. Look at this guy.
Motion by Rick,
Second.
second by Jason.
Toast, I couldn't second it.
Under discussion, I would like to say for the record, I felt like a better use of funds would be to buy coats and hats for all the employees. However, I seem to be a minority with that perspective, so I will go along.
What makes you think?
Here we go.
And scarves.
Yeah,
He was getting
yeah,
away from the record for a while, but now he's back.
yeah, he's back.
We'll get fresh air.
Disney
You don't need
dropped out.
refrigeration for that. You and Mickey had a discussion or
What?
what?
You stay younger.
Any further discussion?
Not to
Okay.
that.
Roll call vote.
You don't have to.
Emily is absent. I vote aye. Councilman Cummins,
Aye.
Councilman Preston. Aye. Councilman Leon.
Aye.
All right. That carries. That was moved by Rick. Seconded by Jason. Should I give this right to you?
I already wrote them.
All right, way ahead.
Like I said, let me repeat what I said earlier. Thank you for being.
Yeah. All right, even though we had the public hearing and on the Saranac Lake Fire and Rescue contract, we never put it in the minutes. So I'd like to go back and accept a motion to accept the 2024 Saranac Lake Fire and Rescue contract. And just so people know, this year's contract is basically $1,000 less than last year. And our contract is $49,118.28. I'll take a motion to accept the Saranac Lake Fire and Rescue contract.
Would you like to spend money?
No.
I'm so moved.
Moved by Dick, seconded by Jason. Further discussion,
That's in one spin.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
We know Jason is,
carried.
any more money spent, it's you and I.
Right. So, next item is I'm thinking at least 6 residents on Moody Pond call me over the last few weeks. As you remember, we voted months ago to follow suit with St. Armand in the addition of 2 streetlights in North Elba over at Moody Pond where all the people are parking. We had the option, I believe, of 3 different lumens of power, and we chose the lowest one, 48 watts, I believe it is, in comparison to the least that Lake Placid Village uses, which is 92. So it's a dim light, but it makes the place safe. Long story short, 3 lights got put up prior to January 1st. The locals don't like them.
Too bright
Uh,
or the color?
they just are so used to it being dark there all the time.
Okay.
Now, some of the residents live on the shoreline, some that are complaining don't, so I'm trying. I'm waiting for a list to come to me of the ones that like it and the ones that don't, but so far. All the negative people have called Davina as well in St. Armand. And so what we've done is we've appealed to Miss Maxon from National Grid. First we asked, can we put timers on? So far, it's not an option. So we're asking to turn them off, keep everybody happy again, and just see how the dust settles. Number of different issues have come up, whether the salamanders will cross the road or the frogs will lay their eggs. Or, so there's been environmental concerns, there's been just residency concerns.
Is it like trespass, meaning like the light that comes into their house, or they just don't like the light at all?
From what I know, it's all down lighting. I went
That's
over and
all-
inspected the three,
It should be right on the road and only on.
it is right on the
So, yeah,
road.
so it's not, my big point is, one thing you mentioned very early on this, it's for a safety issue.
Right,
So I think, I mean, every other factor should be important. But I think the number one factor should be safety.
there was one incident where a car pulled out and there was a near collision. That's kind of what started all this. And certainly Davina had it with good common sense to make a parking area safe. Typically, what happens in the summer, people get there before light to go up the mountain, so that they're the only ones there when it's light on the mountain, whatever. Many people get back after dark. So we gotta play this
This is
out.
a very high.
Has anybody addressed this with the Friends of Moody Pond? They seem like a pretty active group.
Well, actually, one of the callers was Dr. Fetterman that helps
Okay.
lead that effort,
Right.
and he agreed to get me a list. He's actually, Donna.
Yeah.
Actually, two of the people that called me live on the opposite end of the lake and were concerned that we were gonna start putting lights all the way around.
Mhm.
And I told them, no, this board only agreed to that safety area. So it's kind of an ongoing issue.
Well, number one, I mean, that mountain has been taken off the list, off the Sixer list.
Yeah,
Number one, so that will diminish. Certainly.
Well, man, I've been in the kayaking business.
Yeah.
So I thought you had
So
to, like, you couldn't, you had to start in Cermak, like at the bell. and
well,
walk all the way
they
there.
try to encourage people to
Yeah,
walk
that's
from
right.
But
town.
people weren't doing that,
No,
No, it's like Cabo over here.
Yeah.
There's no place to park
which is.
theoretically. But the point, my big thing is, and we can get more information, et cetera. But if it increases safety, that should be our number one
yeah,
responsibility. I
and
mean,
like I say, I'm waiting for the list.
Okay.
I'll look at them, Davina and I will talk, I'll report back to the
Right.
board.
because the other thing is, like you said, a couple of them were your concerns, their concerns was, do you gonna keep going? Like I said, there's two concerns off the list.
Right,
And get the list, find out each one's concerns, and if they're justified, we look at them.
right,
But if they just don't like the lights,
People that don't.
well, that's a certain percentage.
Especially if they, you know, not all our time without lights.
what's that?
Can I do timers?
Timers aren't, I don't know if they're not reliable, and if people have to watch them consistently, it's a national grid thing.
Then it's another argument. When do you set the time?
Yeah.
Early
that's
morning,
it.
late at night.
So anyway,
Okay.
it's ongoing, and for right now, we've sent a letter asking for, turn them off for now, and hopefully by summer, when it gets busy, we're gonna have an answer.
Yeah, cause like I said, I'll say it a third time, the safety is the most important thing to me.
I agree. Yeah. Next item up are Ironman routes, and ironically, Dick, you were in the office when Greg came and we talked about both of
It's been
those.
changed 3 times.
Yeah, so in giving permission for these routes, one is the Lake Placid Classic, that is,
Be the marathon,
yeah.
so that's different.
That's different.
That was a route and the Ironman, he's asking for permission for both routes.
And I think we should, I thought he wasn't gonna be here.
And I thought it best to make acceptance conditional off in hearing what the final route is gonna be.
Well, that's the thing,
Yeah.
because he sent me the day we talked, later on that day. He sent me a route, okay? And then 2 days later, he sent me, he said, no, we can't do that. Because it involved a crossover. That was too tight. Okay, so then he sent me a revision like 2 weeks later, and then the next day he revised that.
Okay,
So my point is, I think if we're gonna, number one, we need to have Greg sitting here, number one.
yep,
I think we should.
And approve the route, and if
Right.
it deviates from that.
Yeah.
It gets disapproved.
Right.
But he needs to seek reapproval.
Yeah, society.
because there's still questions in J, right? from Black Brook into Jay?
This
Didn't
is-
he say
this is
he-
Yeah,
the running route?
This is pretty much the route.
Yeah,
This is
and
the
I
one we
read
did.
it in the paper and I went, 90% of this is in the town and I haven't heard anything
Well,
about it.
that's the thing.
Right,
Cause he was originally gonna go out to Mountain Lodge or whatever out there and come back and turn around, I mean, do a crossover down the hill. And I think for everybody's sake, I think he needs to be here and discuss it
Yes.
with Iron Man.
so then should I invite him to May 14th?
Yeah, I would,
Sure.
yeah.
And bring maps.
Yeah. I mean, he sent me a map, but it needs an explanation. And as far as, I mean, if you wanna talk about it, it's not on the agenda, but if you wanna talk about the marathon, that's a different case.
Well,
But you wouldn't, it wouldn't behoove us to have him come to the next workshop meeting, like at the end of April?
I can,
Fine with me.
Yeah, I would say sooner the better, right?
Yeah, particularly, particularly for both of them, because as we know, Ironman takes time.
Yeah.
The marathon is his, so he can make, boom, he can make decisions
all right,
with our approval.
April workshop.
Yeah.
Because I think the village just passed the classic one.
Oh, the clock, yeah.
That's the difference,
Yeah,
that's
that's
the,
the classic one, that's another.
I mean, that's kind of set,
Yeah,
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
that's the thing.
so we can okay that tonight.
okay,
No, that's another one.
no, it's Lake Placid Classic, no, not the
No,
Lake
no,
Placid.
we're not doing the classic. Lake Placid Marathon Classic, two different things.
Right, but this is for the class.
This is the classic.
Oh, I thought you said Lake Placid Marathon, I'm sorry.
I think he initially.
Look at it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Is he changing his route for the marathon?
Yes,
Or is that
he's-
just a,
Yes, he's adding a route. He's gonna put in
10K.
10K, yes, I
Yeah.
was gonna say 10K. Going down, I believe, Newman.
yeah, that's gonna be.
Yeah, that's why I think he needs to be here. So, like I said, he was explaining to Derek and I understood what he's saying, but I think rather than seeing a map,
Going down.
you need to
Newman,
you need to
old
have him here.
military,
Yeah.
And it's gonna really clog up more and more traffic.
Well, the old military's on the sidewalk.
Oh, no,
Oh,
wait,
no, like I said, I'm giving you what I know, okay?
Is there a way he could, print out a couple of the routes so that we're all kind of up to speed?
Oh, yeah, that's
So we have that
exactly.
for that
We-
meeting.
we have a joint town village Ironman meeting on the 15th.
Yeah.
We don't need to bring them to workshop.
Yeah,
I'd rather, well, I don't know, for the
It's
routes,
just for.
my point is,
Both boards will be there.
yeah, but, not but, however, we've got a lot of fish to fry with the contract and everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I
That's
think-
what the meetings,
You
you
know what I
think
mean?
it'll be too lengthy?
I think I think the discussion on the Ironman run course route just needs an explanation and a little bit of discussion.
Okay, so that's the
Clarification.
24th.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the overarching overall event and willingness to.
So then I probably better pull him in at 4 o'clock.
Did you send?
We're gonna need 3:30 with Kathy for 15 minutes, so I didn't wanna even start everybody else coming down till 1:45. I'll figure it out,
How does she get to go first? She goes last.
not with what we're talking.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like to tell you how I.
So who,
Yeah, no.
who's Andrea Chamberlain and Tracy Gardner?
Probably the
They
late.
took over for me.
they're the new,
Oh, I'm just trying to get who's who.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Larry's Iron Man, they're the late classes.
Larry's Ironman and Lake Placid Marathon. That's classic.
So this says Lake Placid Classic, the original Lake
Right,
Placid North
yeah.
Nova half marathon
Right.
in 10K.
But then there's also Greg's, it's the Lake Placid Marathon.
That's a private one. That's the one he owns. Lake Placid Classic is more, and he generates revenue worth. Lake Placid Classic, which I always say every year is one of my favorites because the proceeds go directly back into the community. It's usually, it's the schools, community schools.
Okay,
It
so
was-
we
it
don't
was
need
in
clarification
school.
on this route.
No,
No.
No, I was the same.
no, that's just asking for approval of a existing route.
Thank you.
okay. Next item, we already took care of with MJ, the disbursement of our occupancy tax.
Did you wanna do the classic? Do you need
Yeah,
to?
we should,
Yeah, I'll take a resolution to accept the classic.
I'll move.
Jason,
I'll-
second, Dick, further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well,
Thank
the- for the
Thank
record.
you.
Yeah, it gets confusing.
Yeah, it's like the Lake Placid Lodge, White Face Lodge.
Now we're getting each other's mail.
Further back in next to tennis courts, whatever.
Sorry to interrupt you.
The fences.
I'm glad you did.
All the sports council.
The next item is Restore New York. I'm gonna wait until next month for Emily to talk about that. But there is an applicant for Restore New York. They're sending me for electronic signature just to have us register. And I think this is either round number 8 or round number 9. But anyway, we're happy to have an applicant.
Yep.
But I'd rather let Emily Verschall on that. Next item is, we talked about this, with some litigation we're in on assessment matters, Article 78s. We need to allocate $17,000 for appraisal work, to support our cause in court. And I just wanted it recorded in the minutes, so we can track it. I'll take a motion for that allocation. Rick, seconded by Dick. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. As you know, we have a vacancy, with a town justice. We had 2 people that I know of, interested in the position. And, observed court sessions, so they knew what was ahead of them. 2 good candidates, they've each talked to Judge Dean Dietrich, to talk about responsibilities and how time off is handled and really the schedule moving forward. The training session, should we decide on a candidate, is, I believe, next week, so the timing is kind of crucial. One thing I had to verify, should we find a candidate we want to put in? We aren't at liberty, to give that candidate the remaining term from Judge Friedman.
Right.
It can only be for until this fall.
I'm
At
glad
which
you read
time
it that
then-
way, because I got confused.
Yeah,
I did.
I needed to go to Dan Manning in the
Yeah.
county and he called the court, just to verify everything.
That's how when I ran for village, they appointed me for a year, then I had to run again for the remainder of the term,
Yeah.
and then.
But oddly enough, the terms don't change like they do for councilmen and supervisors. The court personnel are totally different. Anyway, as I get more information on those interested parties, we'll bring it up again. It doesn't look like there will be anybody ready in time for this
Okay,
training session. I'm not sure yet.
okay, cause I saw. But one thing I did see through the email, there was some information coming in about
A potential.
potential one, so we're
Yeah.
not there yet.
We're not there yet.
Oh,
Yep. Okay, you got by email from Adrian today. From our legal counsel, finally, we have all the documents we need to accept Pioneer Lane. Under town maintenance. New maps finally made it through, new deed restrictions. And I guess just a brief description is that, one of the problems, in acquiring this roadway to township was that stairwells that enter, 4 of these homes were encroaching into that right of way. So we had to have surveying done, well, we didn't, Homestead had to have it done. And those sections of property were actually added back to the home sites and a new boundary line was written. Those dimensions and deeds and ways and means were put in front of Ken at our highway. He has accepted those, the widths and the whole bit. So finally, after months of back and forth with the lawyers, we have this document and I'm glad to say I can accept a motion to accept Pioneer Lane as a town road.
So moved.
Moved by Jason, seconded by Rick.
I do have a question
Yep,
concerning what we talked about, and I didn't, been on the road all day, so I didn't see what you said. So you've got the stairways that come down. I know, you know, familiar with it is. So basically whereas the stairway was here
yep,
and it went, the line went here.
yep,
Okay, so now is it totally the line is out here?
yes,
Okay, it's not any curvature or anything like that. It was just moved out.
yes, it is a bumped line.
Yeah, it
It,
looks like a-
it comes and goes around. There's a map right in here.
They're really raising up.
Yep,
Okay, let me look at it a second.
Did you know this?
Honestly, I might have forgotten to email that.
Okay.
with a survey
It was last minute. There.
that covers all that.
So really. Okay, no, I'm good with it. Okay,
You
I
see that
see.
dark, see that darkest black line?
Yeah,
That's the new one.
oh, that's the new one. So it isn't, so it's not a curvature.
So
It's, I mean, it's not bumped in and out.
Well, no, that,
the previous one was bumped in
No,
and out?
just shifted.
It just, yeah,
So
because
Yeah.
I thought this may be the other one. I'm just looking at,
this one. didn't.
yes, well, I'm looking at these. And going, okay, what's all this in and out? You know what I mean? But it's
That's-
gone.
It's
That's
gone,
gone.
so I think they shifted this line
That's
They
fine.
moved it, they moved it back.
Okay,
just to make that a straight line.
so what is,
I can tell you if I get a look at that again.
so Mike, see, Mike, it is,
But the,
I didn't realize
it is the same.
the
I'm
solid
gonna
one,
say the DI.
because I'm looking at this and going with these
No.
bumps.
Here's the new deeded line.
Okay,
See where the
wow,
gray
yeah.
meets the white?
Yeah,
It goes, jogs, goes
so
in,
this is,
jogs.
so this is the dark line.
No, the dark line is the curving. That,
Okay.
that Kenny's worried about with his
You know,
plows.
irritate everyone.
That's the curving.
It's small with a new.
But his easement actually runs all this gray outside of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just concerned about the fact that granted that we gave them back this much room. But we're.
That was under advice of our council.
Right, but we're still liable for these gray areas. Which, you know,
Well, that's just the way the meets and bounds
okay,
ran it to compensate for the stairwells.
okay, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm saying, but I'm just thinking, physically speaking. Somebody comes down and they end up on those, in that gray area, you know, I'm just coming, the worst case scenario,
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah.
When I mean, you're moving and you come down the stairway. And you. Cause the stairway's so close to the gray area. That you.
Oh, so it's-
fall with a
oh,
mattress or
okay.
something like that, you're on our property, you're on the other side of the curb.
So instead of homeowners insurance, now we're liable.
That's it, that's my only,
Yeah.
just giving you worst case scenario, that's all.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Cause
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, I can't tell exactly, but it's like you come down the stairs. And, you know, you turn immediately, you're on your property. But if you go a few steps, for some reason, you're on ours.
Yeah.
It's like a walk up in the city or something.
You know, I'm not saying I'm against it, it's
No.
just like, it's a little funky.
Yeah.
There's falling on the sidewalk or falling into the sidewalk.
But if you're bringing a mattress, inside mattress down, and you gotta go onto the gray area, and you trip and fall, boom. No, I'm okay, I just wanted.
well, we said,
Well, let us decide.
I know we.
Oh,
Satisfied.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
See what Rick was gonna do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Oh, God.
no,
Once we satisfy both legal counsels, it's
Yeah, right.
taken
no, that's,
6 months.
yeah, no, I just was, cause we had talked about that, and I just, it is kind of funky, but I'm not totally against it, I'm just saying it's funky.
Yeah,
That's close.
Yeah, it is close.
further discussion.
I got my point across, I'm good enough.
Careful with those mattresses.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried.
New policy. This is going.
Yeah, we gotta send them over the rail.
What do we got for any committee reports?
Basically, I just want to comment. I guess it's committee reports on yesterday, with all the parking and everything like that. I want to commend the highway department, the members of the highway department, transfer station and park district for their part and particular individuals that coordinated these things. I'm not gonna mention all names because they know who they are, but they did a great job.
Couldn't agree more.
Yep.
And the other thing I saw was it sort of served as a team building event.
Yes,
question.
People that didn't work together were working together.
Yeah.
It really was nice. Even the village.
Right.
The village employees were, you know, not that I made that sign.
Oh,
The village. Everybody seemed to be working well and having a good time, so.
Well,
And thanks to you guys for.
when we take notes and we do this again in another 78 years, okay, we all do this again. The only thing I would suggest, and you're the one that got the first comment, was free parking,
Yeah,
you know? I mean,
everyone was appreciative,
but the point is to say free parking,
right?
because we go to too many places and you know, going to the ball game last week and me going to the ball games 3 weeks ago, you know, you're
We'll pay
looking,
everywhere you
you're
go.
looking at parking and you know you're gonna pay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so how much?
Yeah, that's the thing. So, because we had those two big spaces and other people did too, other places too. I mean, it's nice to say parking, but people probably would have more come in and said, oh, they're just they're just trying to make money on there.
Yeah.
Free parking.
Did the airport charge for parking?
They only charged, the part that we couldn't outguess were people that came in camping vans.
Okay,
We didn't have a designated place for them.
okay.
And the airport, they have like 80 to 90 spots in there.
Mhm.
So MJ contacted the airport and they charged, I think they charged 100 or 125 a night for any van that was there to camp.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was only 3 that I.
So
that I know
that's
of.
where I was stationed.
Yeah,
And I was handed a $20 bill twice. I didn't accept it, of course, but here's for parking. And it's like, no, I didn't
is that
know.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, that's, I mean, people, that's,
Yeah.
like you said, the first people you talked to.
yeah,
And that yesterday morning, we're very appreciative of it, and I think me leaving at that point and going into town, knowing the town was already full of parking. There were people on Main Street just pulling over and hoping somebody would pull out, and we're going like this, Patty and I were going like this, and the point is, if they had seen free parking, they probably would have said, I'm not even gonna try.
yeah.
I'll
If they
do it
know
here.
like classes, they won't even try to.
Well, so many people had no clue. I mean, we saw many people yesterday morning that came in very early and just did a loop, just did a lap around saying, we're
Check it.
checking all these places
Yeah.
out, and many came back, some didn't, whatever.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's my only thing is like, let it be known that, I mean, it was broadcast to the community via Roost, via the paper and everything saying, here's parking, here's parking, here's parking. But if we had said free parking, we may have alleviated some of the congestion.
To me, the biggest unexpected attraction was 75 aircraft coming into our airport. Now,
Amazing.
I'm gonna try to call Corey tomorrow because I know they had between 40 and 50 registered
Okay,
out there.
I tried to take a picture, I got it back in my truck and I'm going like, I mean, I got a picture of it, but it's so congested.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
It was neat.
And the cool thing was, as soon as totality passed, they were taking off. Trying to get them in. The
Took
jet.
3 hours.
Well, the jets were taking off first, cause they could make it to Maine to see it again.
Oh, cool.
Is that right?
That's, so did that.
Huh,
That's
They
interesting.
could make it, whereas the props, they didn't have prayer.
yeah,
But the jets could make it to, cause I was looking at, where we were, half an hour later, they were showing, Prince Edward Island.
Okay.
And it was just starting,
Oh, really?
you know, and this was probably 45 minutes after totality. So therefore, the jets had a chance to see it again.
Oh. It'd be nice to, well, you live in that class of being able to spend the money.
I enjoyed it more than
You
I thought I
wanna
would.
see my net jet card?
One other thing where, Dick, I don't know if you had a chance to comment, you've been out of town, so you didn't, but the policy changes. Looking at changing PTO over.
Yeah, I just looked at it, I didn't read the whole thing over.
Okay. And Kathy commented on it today, she has plenty of questions, so
We're tomorrow, right?
that's something else, but
Oh, that was just, no,
no, we can certainly add,
yeah, we can add that on.
yes. So just to update you on that.
Good.
Yes.
Anything else under committee reports? All right, let's go to budget amendments. Certainly the major one there is transferring our occupancy tax money to Roost under an agreement we have for 5 years. We got almost just shy of $23,000 back, our balance that was paid. It's a refund from Travelers, as we transferred to Nymer. $823 is for the new computer for David Wright. Voucher for Swazo Engineering for our sidewalk study of $10,550. New cell phone case for Matt. Our contract for our sewer study was $1,365. They only charge us as they do work.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was an easy month for budget amendments. I'd like to cover personnel actions, and then we'll adopt both of those at the same time. As you know, we have 2 new hires. A park district attendant, 2 park district attendants. Each at $23 per hour. One is Trevor Stanton, the other is John Pulsifer III. She even wrote his nickname down there, Snoozy.
She did.
His dad is
Sleepy.
Sleepy and Snoozy.
Yeah, lethal, I got you, to call him Snoozy.
Yeah.
One of the 7 dwarfs here.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
But we're excited to welcome both of them as we have been a couple guys short in Park District as it is. Date of hire is the 12th for Trevor, and on the 5th, Snoozy started. Along with that, I am recommending that we bring all Park District people up to an even amount. And this is, well, it will get us on, I'll say, a sustainable basis of pay scale related to time served, and as it, I guess, relates to the current state of affairs on the amount of money we need to hire people at. In basic terms, what it means is Terry Snyder and Willis Clark will go to $26 an hour. Ward Smith and Zach Clark will go to $25 an hour. Which is just a few cents over where they're currently at.
It's just a roundup.
With that being said, it's up to you guys whether we do this in one motion or 2 to accept budget amendments and personnel actions in one resolution. Let's do them all in one.
Sure.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to
Yes.
accept?
Yes.
Dick,
Yep.
second,
Sure.
Rick, further discussion.
One question, should we expect another bump with the
New hires,
superintendent responsibilities being divvied up among 2 staff?
if it's a personal opinion, probably yes. But in my mind, that isn't a done deal yet.
Okay,
Okay.
There are too many variables into this plan that affects the whole ground crew. And I want more acceptance, I guess, if you will, on all the leaders of our park district, whether it's the golf pro, whether it's the supposed supervisory responsibilities at the maintenance shed itself with scheduling and chores that are being assigned. It's not carved out in stone yet. So I'm just not comfortable at this point.
the why I asked that, well, informational plus. I might, at the time, might recommend a stipend rather than an hourly increase. solely from the standpoint of,
I got you.
if you give two guys an increase for doing the superintendent's job and now next year we hire one,
Yeah,
those guys now are, they've elevated our.
I think that is a great,
Yes.
great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think when Matt gets back, we'll sit down and we need to go over this scenario again because we have a myriad of personalities out there. I'm not saying that his ideas aren't good. But we need to put some more thought in.
Well, I think what we ought to do is, I'm not saying you were gonna do that, is, you know, when Matt gets back and at the workshop, you know, we have an executive session with Matt sitting here
Sure,
and
Talk
discuss, like I said, all the players.
yeah,
I guess I try to stay abreast of what's going on in the park district, but it seems incredibly fluid and
That's-
confusing.
Yes,
And
well,
It
things
seems
have
like we're
changed
kind of-
just in the last 10 days.
yeah, that's the
You,
thing.
you know, the plan we had put in place, 2 employees aren't on the list.
They fell off.
all right.
Yeah,
And I know that I've been, like, my work life has been, like, 3 weeks leading up to break has been crazy. With some additional responsibility I've taken on, and then like spring break. So I've been partially out of the loop regarding that sort of thing, but even before that, it seemed incredibly confusing.
Oh, no, it is, and that's why I think we need to, you know, I mean, Matt can talk to you and you can do it and you can convey. I think we need to,
and that's basically why I put you and Rick
Yeah.
with Matt.
right,
Cause I see like you're talking about like increases in like stipends and increases in wages, and I'm just kind of like, it's hard for me to.
no,
I know I don't wanna
gotcha.
like slow the process down, because I've been busy with.
Well, that's
my-
why I wanna do it at the workshop, we're all here.
We're all here.
Yeah.
We're all here and you know, we've all got our thoughts on what we wanna do.
But you're not as far out as you think you
No,
are.
you're not,
Th-
you're not.
This is like as of last Thursday afternoon.
Because I saw like an email and I was like, I don't really know, then like there was a response back and I'm like, but then there were any subsequent responses.
Well,
So, like-
one email we didn't get, and I'm gonna kick Matt to the curb on this one, it's no big deal.
Yeah,
But, you know, you got okay on 2 from them.
right,
And then he says, well, the other 2, I'm going to, Thursday, they will give me an answer.
appeal to them,
Right, and I will update you on their decision.
yeah.
There was no update, you know, I'm just gonna, you know, if you were sitting here, I'd say, where was my
That's why
email?
you left to Florida.
Yeah,
Sort of slipped his.
yeah, that's the thing, but that, you know, in other words, that's one thing you missed and so the rest of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, can I have a motion to accept the audits?
Smooth.
Moved by Jason, seconded by Rick. No discussion on my part, anything further from you guys? All in favor? Aye, carried. You hung in there good, Sydney.
On you.
Thanks.
You got anything for us?
This is more for my own curiosity. Did they say that Harriet Tubman statue is $38,000?
It's the whole, Sydney, it's, when we went through it and we initially looked at the application. I mean, you know, in other words, you look at the project and then you look at the money and you go, huh? It actually came down to, it's transportation, it's installation, and there's a lot of different facets to it. But the whole project is, but
Okay, yeah, I was just trying to figure, I guess I never thought about the statue renting business in my head,
Yeah.
so I was like, wait, how does that work?
No, when they came to us on the Leaf Committee and none of us knew anything about that situation either. So now we know.
I didn't ask you with all the trucks that you have?
Statues are a different thing.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. A little bit everywhere.
Well, that's all from me. I was just curious.
Okay,
All right.
yeah.
What's that?
Thank you for joining,
Yeah.
Sydney.
So Cindy, if you wanna go into that business, sounds like it's pretty lucrative.
Yeah, yeah, maybe a side hustle.
That's a special CDL, so you better check into it.
Put a QR code on it. We'll scan
Especially
it, right?
historical figures.
Yeah,
that's
see,
what we are.
yeah, I wouldn't wanna drive it.
All right, so we are in need of an executive session to talk about personnel.
Okay.
I anticipate, I don't know whether we'll make a decision in this executive session, so if we do, I'll notify you in the morning. But right off the bat, I don't anticipate us making a decision.
So, wait, do we do that motion then? to
No, we don't,
enter
right?
in?
Well,
we have to
Enter in,
we have to enter in and I can't adjourn till
We can't,
everything's over.
right,
Right, and then we motion to enter in, and then
Yeah.
we just end the meeting.
right, you
Correct.
can't vote to come out because you're in executive session.
Right, so I make a motion that we go into executive session.
All right,
6:50.
For the purpose of
seconded by
personnel,
Jason.
yes.
Do you have Robert's rules, the little book? can
Oh,
bring
I
it.
hope
I
not.
have, it's all online.
It's all.
The 138th.
I think the first one I read it
138th
tells me.
edition.
No, you have to have the book.
Well, looks like
Especially
Kathy
the
was
little
on.
one.
Yeah.
What could you do?
Like,
No, that's
Oh,
us.
her name, the
What's her name?
registration.
Okay,
Okay,
okay, so now I need to stop recording.
and did you record the time?
Yeah.
Yes.
6:55 or whatever.
And we will be out at 7:01. You can already put that.
Yeah, yeah.
If not before.
End meeting.